that first year, I made more money, worked fewer hours, had more quality time with my kid, and lowered my effective tax rate.
And you started this out of necessity.
Yeah, because I was getting asked out to coffee twice a week and people were asking me the same questions over and over again. And I said, there's got to be a better way to help more people than drink a lot of coffee. So that's why I started this educational organization. And then when I say I fell into self-employment, that's literally what happened. I didn't plan it, didn't think through the pros and cons, didn't let fear, uncertainty, and doubt stop me. I just picked up the phone and said, well, I'll call Rob and see if he needs help. And that was it. And yes, that first year I made more money, worked fewer hours, had more quality time with my kid, and lowered my effective tax rate. And I said, this is great. I am never going back to a full-time W-2 job.
That is such an unusual story. Hey, sales setters, welcome to season 2 of Beyond the Business Plan, where heart meets hustle and every episode inspires you on your entrepreneurial journey. I'm LeAnn Lyon, and together we'll chart new courses, tackle challenges, and celebrate those big wins with expert guests, honest stories, and plenty of joy along the way. If you love the show, tap follow, subscribe, leave a quick review, or join our conversation with hashtag JoyMinder, because your support helps us reach and inspire more entrepreneurs. Set sail on your business adventure with Beyond the Business Plan. Special note about this special episode. My guests and I are sharing in this episode what's working for us financially, but we are not financial pros. So we are not offering any financial advice here. So before you make any money moves, go and talk to a licensed expert who can help you with your unique situation. Remember, there is no one size fits all. So do your own due diligence. I hope you enjoy the show, and let's get right back to it. My guest today was a solopreneur long before it was trendy. When a layoff changed her path, Liz Steblay quickly found her first consulting client and never looked back, discovering more freedom, time with her daughter, and the spark to build something of her own. Liz later founded the Proco agency and PICA, P-I-C-A, guiding others to success as independents. She's also the author of Succeeding as a Solopreneur. Very self-explanatory, I think. And when she's not working, you'll find her skiing, golfing, or riding her Ducati motorcycle. Sounds very fancy. I am so excited for you to hear Liz's inspiring story. Liz, are you there?
Yes, I'm here and happy to be here.
There she is. Pika, it's right behind you. And what does it stand for?
It stands for Professional Independent Consultants of America, which is 17 syllables, way too many for a business name, but it says what we are, professional independent consultants.
Excellent. And you kind of started this out of necessity, it sounds like.
Yeah, because I was getting asked out to coffee twice a week and people were asking me the same questions over and over again. And I said, there's got to be a better way to help more people than drink a lot of coffee. So that's why I started this educational organization. There's nothing wrong with drinking coffee, but when you're saying the same thing over and over again, there's got to be a more efficient way.
For anybody listening to the show, you can watch over on Facebook. I got very defensive of over on YouTube. I started holding my coffee cup very close. I love my coffee, but it's also not traditional coffee, so it doesn't rot your gut like most coffee does. So yeah, but you were a W-2 before that, correct?
Well, yeah, like most people, I had lots of full-time jobs. Started my career back in the last century. That's how old I am. And worked for a global consulting firm for about 5 years. But then once my daughter was born, that model wasn't really good for either one of us, for my daughter or the firm or the clients or me. And so then I took an internal job with a Fortune 500 company. And that lasted about a year and a half. And then everybody that was hired for the particular initiative was let go. And so at the day I got that notice, I called a former consulting client that I had known with the global firm, and I said, "Hey, I just got laid off. Do you need any help on any projects?" And he said, "Are you kidding? How soon can you get here?" So I literally had my first client before I even had a laptop. And then when I say I fell into self-employment, that's literally what happened. I didn't plan it, didn't think through the pros and cons, didn't let fear, uncertainty, and doubt stop me. I just picked up the phone and said, "Well, I'll call Rob and see if he needs help." And that was it. And yes, that first year I made more money, worked fewer hours, had more quality time with my kid, and lowered my effective tax rate. And I said, "This is great. I am never going back to a full-time W-2 job."
That is such an unusual story. It really is, because so many people who get into entrepreneurship often end up either they've been doing it since they were seven, or they like really think about it. So I also left my career as a professional, my professional career as a teacher. Also, I don't know if it was like when your daughter was born, but when my daughter was born, that was the last day that I was teaching. And I never ever ended up going back. I thought I would, I really did. But it just, I could see that taking care of her was going to be my most important priority. And I didn't want to do that between the hours of 6 and 8 p.m. only. And that's how
Yes.
I could see it being. Was
Yes.
that the same for you?
Yes. So, well, when you work for a global consulting firm, it's not as bad now as it was pre-COVID, but you were on the road Sunday through Thursday or Monday through Thursday, and that's not no, it just was not going to work. I felt like I wasn't a good consultant and I wasn't a good mom at the same time. And I said, okay, this is definitely not sustainable. When I did decide that I was going to stay self-employed, I quickly developed a practice of starting every consulting engagement with what I call the WOW meeting, which stands for ways of working. And
Okay.
so I would take the client to lunch or we'd have coffee or meet for breakfast, whatever. It's a casual environment. And I'd say, "All right, there's a few things you need to know about me and how I approach my work and how I run my life." And the first thing is I'm a part-time single mom because that's the same year I got divorced, actually. And so I have custody of my daughter Monday through Wednesday. And I turn my phone off between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. because that's when I pick her up from daycare and put her the times, between that and bed. But then you'll get emails. Then I go back to work and you'll get emails from me, 10, 11, 12 o'clock or later. That's just how I roll. So I'm unavailable between those hours of 5 to 9, but then you will get emails from me, in the middle of the night, basically. And I certainly don't expect a reply. In the 15 years that I was an independent consultant, I never once had a client complain about that, have an issue with that. And if anything, there was a lot of respect for that, for having those clear boundaries. So that ways of working initial meeting really helped manage expectations and create smooth sailing for every single engagement. The other thing, though, as a mom, when I first, all my years of consulting, both for the big firm and even that first project I did, I felt like I always had to be available. Like just and as consultants, it's our instinct to want to please our clients. But, my daughter was 3 or 4 years old and, having meltdowns and typical things that young toddlers do. And what happened when I started turning my phone off for those hours, within a week, the dynamics with my daughter changed. Our relationship got stronger because she had my undivided attention. Even for those 4 hours, made a huge difference in our relationship. So my clients were happy, my daughter was happy, and I wasn't so stressed out all the time.
Oh, I love that. I've had many people say that they became entrepreneurs for their children. But, I love hearing this part of the story too, of how being an entrepreneur really benefited your relationship.
Oh, yes, definitely. 100%. But so, and then, after a couple of years of doing that, or over the years, at least two clients said, "Liz, we'd like to hire you full time. You've been so invaluable, blah, blah, blah." So it's a great compliment. And I'd say, I'm flattered, but really I'm unemployable because I'm so used to living my life in this crazy mixed up way where, I start work later in the morning because I'm with my daughter. And then, you know, I take those hours out towards the late afternoon, early evening, and then I work again. I don't think I could go back to a regular 9 to 5 job. I'm basically unemployable. And so, although it's flattering to be and tempting, of course, to have a full-time salary, I was never really tempted.
Yeah. I do. I hear that also from entrepreneurs. Like a little bit of the grass is greener on the other side, right? You're at a W-2 and you're like, oh, they have all the freedom. They never have to ask their boss to go on vacation. True.
True.
On the flip side, if you don't have the clients, the customers, the whatever, you don't have the money either.
Right?
You
The
don't
uneven
have
cash
the
flow is the hardest part about being self-employed.
for
I
sure.
often tell people that in those years, my income was like a Richter scale. It would just go peak, uh, sharp highs, sharp lows. My income ranged anywhere from 5,000 a month to 25,000 a month. Obviously, 25K a month is a good living, but you can't survive as a single mom in San Francisco on 5 grand a month. So the uneven cash flow is definitely the hardest part of being self-employed. So the important part is to have, a safety net, to have a slush fund. And for me, this is one of my favorite practical tips, actually. Because I was laid off, I was getting severance. So I put that severance into a savings account, and because I was already starting billing within the first 2 weeks of being laid off. So I was double dipping. So I had my slush fund built. Uh, but even with that slush fund, I did get caught short when it came time to pay quarterly tax. So the first year when it's time to pay my quarterly taxes, I don't even remember the amount. Let's say $12,000, and I didn't have it, or I didn't have enough of it. And I don't remember how I came up with the money. I think I borrowed it from my brother. But the point is, I said, I am never going to be caught short like that again. So every time a client paid an invoice after that, I took 40% of the invoice and I put it into a separate bank account. Actually, I put it into a separate bank because if I logged in to Bank of America and I saw that I had $10,000 in savings, I'd be say, "Oh, great, we have enough money to go on vacation to Hawaii." I have no fiscal discipline whatsoever. So I literally had to hide the money from myself in a separate bank. And then time for quarterly taxes, I transferred the money that I needed. And then when it came time for my annual tax return, lo and behold, there'd be anywhere from 20 to 25,000 left over. That money went into my solo 401k, which lowered my taxable income, and that's how I lowered my effective tax rate, built my built my portfolio for retirement. And that's the goose that gives the golden eggs over and over and over again. So even if you don't have any financial discipline, if you can carve out, it doesn't even need to be 40%, 30%, whatever, put it into that separate bank account. You won't be caught short for quarterly taxes. You'll be saving for retirement. You'll lower your effective tax rate. And that's how you build wealth over time.
Yeah, I love that you brought this up because I recently attended Andrew Cordell's Aspire tour, which is like it's just on fire. It's going city to city every month. It's in a different city. It was in Minneapolis, St. Paul recently, and part of it is he talks about this. And I'm in a room with thousands of entrepreneurs, and he said, "Okay, everybody here, you're all entrepreneurs. Raise your hand if you have a solo 401k." You could have heard a pin drop.
What? No,
No,
that's like the
nobody.
first thing you do when you're
Nobody
self-employed.
knew it. No, he didn't call it to be fair, he didn't call it a solo 401k at that time. He just called it a solo. If you have a solo, raise your hand. And nobody raised their hand. Nobody knew about it. And that was kind of the premise of his whole presentation after that is he said, look, don't know if you know him or his story, but fascinating. But he grew up in Southside Chicago. Lots of siblings, parents who were teachers, and they were on WIC. I mean, just to get by. So really, no entrepreneurial knowledge at all. And so when he grew up, he's like, I'm going to be he saw what being an entrepreneur could be. And so he started a window washing business. I think he said he made six figures when he was 17.
Wow, that
What
is
do you do
something.
with it? And his dad's like, take your, go to the accountant. And the accountant says, bring me your receipts. And he brought the receipts, his first squeegee that he bought. And she said, "Oh, you don't know taxes." He's like, "I what? That's the best news ever." And so he played the game for a long time that I think a lot of entrepreneurs play of many deductions can I take?
Yes, that's
And
the other
that's the
part.
wrong game.
Now, well, I say it's two sides of the same coin, right? And actually, in my book, the subtitle of the book is Six Keys to Taking the Leap, Winning Clients, and Building Wealth. So the last two chapters of my book are both about how to take advantage of the tax deductions you have as a business owner and how to make these contributions to your individual retirement account or your health spending account and how to file money away to lower that effective tax rate.
Absolutely. And that's really where a lot of his into. Now, and I went to classes when way back when I was part of Tony Robbins' thing and everything else. We learned about hiring your children. And then we became business owners and we hired our children and we paid them and they went to the movies with the money. We didn't do it right. We just didn't know what we didn't know. But he told us in this thing, if you have a child under the age of 18, you can pay them currently in 2025 up to $15,500 tax free. That's their limit on, before they have to start paying taxes. And if you put that into their business account for their business and they pay, and then you take, their $7,000 out for their Roth, now
Yes.
what type of wealth are you building? Now
Yes, the
tell me
trick is
more.
that legally the kids should be doing at least something for
Oh
the
yeah,
business.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, it's tax fraud.
No, it is. It totally. And he actually explained. So he has a 6-month-old daughter. She is officially the youngest person on the earth, on planet Earth, who has had her own LLC or something like that. He set up some stuff. He said it almost caused a divorce, but she actually had a whole bunch of things set up like within 2 hours of birth.
Oh my goodness.
And he told us what his contract is with her. He has a contract that when he uses her photo on stage with the Aspire tour, she gets paid $1 per ticket sold
Oh, that's great.
because he's using her
His image, her image,
likeness,
yeah.
image, and what's that?
Yes, he's
Yeah,
using her image.
yeah. And when he does it again at this other event that he hosts, she gets $3 per ticket. So it's very manageable, absolutely. And is it appropriate for her age? Yeah, she can do that work. She had to look
That's
cute for a picture.
yeah, that's terrific.
So
Yes,
yes,
it's all about running up your business expenses in a legal way so
in a
that
legal way.
your taxable income is lower.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where he really dove into it. He's like, here, who do you think wrote these tax laws? The wealthy. Who'd they write them for? The wealthy. How
Exactly.
did they write them? With lobbyists. Who made sure that they were legal? The wealthy. Who can take advantage of them, though?
Everyone.
All of us. We just need to know it. And it's
Yes.
been I was a math teacher. I believed we should be teaching this in middle school, high school, some sort of financial education. And we just very rarely, if ever, did. I mean, financial education was learning how to count out change.
Yes.
I mean, it's sad. And
There's
college,
definitely some shortcomings in our educational system for
oh,
sure.
yeah. So anyway, anybody listening, if you want, check it. I thought his thing was great, but it sounds like you could get Liz's book and get a lot of good information there too
Yes, for $20, yes,
for 20
it's a better
bucks.
investment.
Probably. Yep, indeed. He has also told us a couple differences between like financial advisors versus there was a different name. I have to remember the word. Basically, people who can move your money but not give you advice.
Hmm.
Um, I have it right here. I'll find it in a second. But he said it was really important because he said, have you ever met a financial advisor who is truly wealthy? Not so much usually.
Hmm.
He said, ask them what they're doing. and consider whether or not it's working for them. Because if it's not working for them, if they're not opening their own family offices, custodian is the other word, financial custodian, you might want to consider what's going on. Custodians can't give you advice, but they can move your money under your direction, which is what you can do with the solo 401k.
Yeah.
You can invest differently when it's under your own direction. So very cool.
Yes.
Fun discussion. Okay, we're gonna take.
Oh, it's one of my favorite hashtags is pay less tax.
Oh, excellent. Well, with that, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and dive into more. Hey, sales setters, do you need energy without the crash? Check out the lifestyle section in our resources on joyminder.com/resources for delicious, healthier coffee alternatives to boost your focus and fuel your hustle. Skip the jitters, love your brew. You can also go directly to whyilovemycoffee.com, and I'll see you there. And we're back. I never know where these conversations are going to go, but this is so much fun to talk about wealth, because when people become entrepreneurs, that's often what they think. Oh, it's going to be so great, and I'm going to take all these trips, and I'm going to be able to live wherever I want and spend whatever I want. Now, the event that I was at was a lot more about keeping and multiplying wealth, but there's a part to it that has to happen first, you know, creating it. What do you
Yes.
know about that?
Yeah. Well, you have to have, any business, you have to have revenue and you have to control your expenses. What we were just talking about was controlling the expense of tax, right? But to grow the top line is probably what most solopreneurs and entrepreneurs struggle with the most is how can I get more money coming in the door? And there's obviously a lot that can go into that, from business development to marketing, positioning, pricing, all which are covered in my book. But I'd say the number one ingredient when you're self-employed as a solopreneur, especially, is confidence. It takes confidence to take the leap to being self-employed. It takes confidence to market yourself as saying, I am better than anybody else on the planet at this particular thing. And most importantly, the confidence to price yourself appropriately. The single biggest mistake of I've coached thousands of people taking the leap to independent consulting, and the single biggest mistake I see them make is they underprice for their services. Um, and the simple way to calculate or benchmark what your rate might be is to take, and most people start hourly, billing by the hour, because that's the simplest, although that's not the way to build wealth the fastest. But let's just start there because it's important to know what that baseline rate would be. Is you would take 2,000 hours, which is roughly the number of working hours in a year. Take your old salary, including benefits, divide by 2,000, and that gives you a number. That number is way too low. That's not your hourly rate. But a lot of people stop there, and that's the mistake. The reason why that's not your hourly rate is because you're running a business now. So you have to pay your own self-employment tax, you have to pay your own overhead, you have to cover the time that's not payable by clients. And so you need to add at least 30%, if not 40%, onto whatever that baseline number was. So that's the important part, is to at least do some math so you at least have a baseline, because then you're not just pulling numbers out of thin air. If you're pulling numbers out of thin air, you might have some hesitancy in your voice, or there might be something in your tone or your language, if it's in writing, that says that, maybe this isn't a firm number. But the more homework you can do on calculating what your rate should be, the more confidence you'll have to get that rate. There's other tips in my book, but to grow the top line, confidence is the number one ingredient.
I love that. Now I'm just going to verbally go through this being a math teacher. So if you had $100,000 job, let's just make the numbers easy. $100,000 job, you're saying you would divide it by the 2,000. That would give you a number of exactly 50. You're saying that the $50 per hour is way too low. You want to go 30 to 40% above that. The way you do that, for anybody listening who's like math phobic, it's not hard. Take 50 multiply it times 1.3 or 1.4, depending on if you want to go up 30% or 40%, and that will give you the number that you would get to. Now, obviously, apply that same type of calculation to whatever are your real numbers, but that's how simple it is.
It
So,
is. And be sure to include whatever your bonus was. And
yes.
also the benefits,
Yep.
right? So for a full-time employee, benefits are roughly 30% of the salary. So I would include that as well.
Yep.
Because
Absolutely.
you are going to have to pay for your own health insurance when you're self-employed, and everybody knows that's not cheap.
Unfortunately, not. No. But and then, once you have built this wealth and you're building your income, the big concern for many people is, well, I don't want to pay all that in taxes. Well, guess what? The wealthy don't want to either. That's why they have created these vehicles that where you can not it's not about avoiding taxes. I don't avoid taxes, you don't avoid taxes. I'm grateful for taxes, and Andrew Cradell from the stage, it was worth millions and millions and millions of dollars, said, "Yep, I like to pay my taxes. However,
But I don't like to overpay.
we don't need to overpay our taxes, right?" So it's not about not paying taxes, but it's about being smart and putting away, money for ourselves and potentially for future generations. And there's so many vehicles around that. One I'd never heard of. A lot of people have heard of a 529, and that depends on which state you live in. In Minnesota, where I live, we opened a 529. That's the end of what we did. We opened it. I didn't know until when I went to this class, I could have put money in literally while they were still in college, turned around and taken it out the next day to pay for college and been able to be at least reducing, where that payment was coming. It could have been tax-free money.
Yes,
And
and
I didn't
the
know that.
any money that's left over, if you're lucky enough to have overfunded the
Right.
529 college plan, they can now convert into a Roth account. So my
Yeah,
daughter was fortunate enough to get a partial scholarship, so we did have an overfunded 529 plan. And
nice.
she's now thinking, well, can I use that money to pay for like a night school, a grad school? I said, yeah, or you just leave it in there and we'll turn it into a Roth retirement for you. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's another way. One of the mistakes I missed as a mom was another way to save money is to put it into a health savings account, which is different than a flexible spending account,
Yes.
because health savings account grows year to year. You don't have to spend it every year like an FSA, and you can invest it in, the market or whatever you want to invest it in. What I didn't know is
Real
that
estate.
what I didn't know is that I was only contributing enough for me, not for the family plan, because I shared custody with my ex-husband.
Mm,
So I didn't ever really consider just part-time, my daughter part-time and me as a quote family, but I could have been saving an extra 3,000 or $3,500 a year, and that would not have been taxed
mm.
for since she was 3 years old. So
Wow.
that was my missed opportunity. So hopefully your listeners will now know that, oh, I should do an HSA to pay lower my tax rate and um, do it for my kids too.
Yeah, and actually one of the other ones related, and I think 529 again isn't in every state anyway, but there is something called a cover it all or coverdell, I forget which one, education savings account. So a CESA, CESA. And that actually can cover education expenses at any age up to age 30. So if that account is set up, and again, there's limits to how much you can put into it. It's more like it is a type of Roth. But once you have it in there, you can invest it. You can put it into other vehicles to grow it. You can get it back tax free. And then you can pay for private school or any other type of education that you, as the owner of the Roth and the child, deems necessary. So if you decide that financial literacy education is important, you could use that CISA account to pay for your child to attend those types of classes. It's much more flexible, like an HSA, in that you can direct it to the narrative that makes sense for your family. Isn't that
Yes,
cool? Very cool. Had you heard of a CISA before?
I had not.
Oh, see, we learn new things all the day. That this was just 3 days. It was a fire hose of stuff that I can't even imagine being able to apply, like dynasty trusts and family banks and all sorts of things that sound really cool. But I'm like, that's a little out of my current, perspective. But there were many very practical tips that I wish I'd known 20 years ago. Maybe listeners here are learning them right now. And, go find the people who can really truly educate you on these. And if you're finding advisors who don't know them, find another one, find
Yes.
somebody else.
Well, and actually now, um, so I've, I manage my own investments, my own retirement accounts, and I wanted to place, I called it a bet on nuclear power
Uh-huh.
because AI takes a humongous amount of energy. So I wanted to invest in, they have small nuclear reactors that are being developed now, not yet active. And I said, well, what if I just, place a bet, quote unquote investment? I call it a bet, but I don't want to bet on any one company. So I need to find a mutual fund or something that is in this sector. I asked my AI tool, I said, this is what I'm interested in. Please give me a list of funds, ETFs or money market funds that um, are in this sector. And sure enough, I got a list of four back, and then I could go and research into those four. But it saved me, I don't know, easily a half an hour, and it took me 2 minutes because I didn't even know where to start to find these funds. So
Yeah.
AI can be very helpful when it comes to just simple investment questions, although I would not rely on it for tax or legal advice.
No, no, please don't. Although that question came up as well. I mean, he said that the IRS currently has 36 different initiatives looking at using AI because it's so much faster. It's going to get through. Right now, they basically rely on looking for flags. Like, oh, there's a flag. We're going to go check out this. And then it's a human looking over things, looking for an issue. And then there's the 7-year look back and all the stuff. That's going to go away when as they get the AI down to being able to literally check everything. And he said it's just going to be a different experience. It's not going to be the same as what we think. We're not necessarily going to get triggered for an audit. But when it says, wow, you made $76,000 last year and you suddenly took $25,000 out in December for travel expenses, it's going to ask you to produce the proof.
Yes.
If it's suddenly you bought a car at the end of the year to reduce your taxes, it's going to expect you to produce proof that the car is only used for business purposes. And that's what he talked about being, green, yellow, red.
Hmm.
He said, those are the yellow things. Don't do that stuff. Because red, you're in jail. Yellow, you're edging towards jail. He
Or
said,
fines and
or
penalties.
fines,
Yes.
penalties, all that stuff. He said, all you have to do is stay in the green. Stay in the green. Stay in the green. There's lots of money in the green. The wealthy, they're all in the green. Although once in a while, he says they go into the lime, which is between the green and the yellow. Pretty smart, right? And he said that, but they're in there because um, they want to turn something green. They want something to be changed. And the IRS knows that. And where do they not want it to go? Green.
Hmm.
So that's when they end up in court. And he said 19 out of 20 cases, if the IRS comes to you and says, hey, we want to do something, he said 19 out of 20 times it will not go to court. The only people who make it go to court are the wealthy and the individual citizens. He said the IRS really doesn't want to go to court because they don't want the precedent of turning it into green.
Yes, and
Anyway,
it takes a lot of time. A lot of
yeah,
people when they're thinking about becoming self-employed
yeah.
or are new to it are a little bit overwhelmed by the accounting side of things.
I don't think we're
And
helping them right now.
yes, and math was always my worst subject. In fact, I had to take statistics twice in grad school because the first time kicked my butt.
Hmm.
So, math, I have no physical discipline and I suck at math, but I still managed to build multi-million dollar business. And because there's tools available to make it for people like me. I mean, when I first started, I was just using Quicken. All
Yep.
right, super simple. Even I can manage that. But now a lot of people are solopreneurs are using an app called FreshBooks or even QuickBooks Self-Employed.
Okay.
FreshBooks is very common though, and it's a way to track your time that you're using, that you're investing in any particular client or activity. I think you should track your time for everything. So you know how much time you're doing on marketing and business development, how much time you're doing for a particular client. And you're able to generate invoices and track your expenses all in the same app. So that's
Beautiful.
another practical tip for your listeners is FreshBooks gets a lot of good reviews.
FreshBooks. Definitely check it out. Yeah, one other stat I just related to all of this, and here's why AI. But the current standard federal tax report, whatever, has 74,000 pages in it with 26 volumes, 4,680 revisions over the last 10 years. And every day for 10 years straight, including weekends, that's almost 1.5 revisions per day.
It's insane. It's
You can't, there's no
definitely
way.
insanity.
It's crazy. But if you know what you're doing and you can, like you said, you manage your investments. So many people are like, it's a 401k. That's really creepy. They push it out for somebody else to handle. And if you take a look and you're like, oh, I'm down $7,000, I mean, don't you want to cry? There's always a risk. That's why you call it a bet. But at least being involved with it, getting your hands a little dirty, you can possibly mitigate some of this stuff a little bit. And there's so many ways to invest. It doesn't have to be stock or mutual funds.
Correct.
They
Right.
said
And now
that,
as I getting older, I realize, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have 100% of my uh, retirement account in stocks. So I've started to create CD ladders, and now I'm also looking at closed-ended funds. There's a terrific book called oh God, Retirement Money Secrets by Steve
okay,
Selengut, which is brilliant at how to preserve your retirement principal and still generate enough income to support your retirement lifestyle. So, yes, it depends on where you are in your journey. The
yeah,
important thing is to charge what you're worth. Number one, squirrel the money away, hide it from yourself if you have to, and be smart about paying less tax.
well, that is a phenomenal summary for this wonderful and enlightening conversation. Liz, this is fun. And you have such a unique journey in how you got where you've gotten, but also I hope not totally unique in how successful you've been, but it's wonderful to hear how successful you've become and
Thank
how
you.
you've
Now, my
accomplished.
greatest joy is teaching other people to create the career of their dreams. Um, it's really so rewarding. I have office hours every week for people who are members of PICA. And somebody came in this morning and she said, I really don't have a question or an issue. I just wanted to tell you that everything is I'm gaining traction and everything is working out. It's all coming together and I'm so excited. And I said, you just made my day. So yeah, this is what I do now is I help other people find the courage to take the leap or how to do it and successfully. And that's why I wrote the book, actually. So for $20 for the regular book, or there's the audio book or the ebook, whatever, you can go through the 6 keys to success as well. And then if you need extra mentorship, that's what the PICA organization is for. But the best way to find the book, or even find out more about me or PICA, whatever, is a simple URL, 6keys.info. Not
Six
six
keys?
keys, 6 keys, SIXKEYS, 6keys.info. Not .com because that was way too expensive. And as we know, I'm all about keeping expenses low. So 6keys.info is the landing page for the book. And from there, you can find out more about me, more about the Professional Independent Consultants of America. You can buy a signed copy of the book. You can click over to Amazon and get the audiobook, whatever. But 6keys.info.
Perfect. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, so where can people connect with you?
There you go.
Boom.
That's the
Rewind.
easiest.
It's right there. Excellent. Any last minute bits of encouragement for somebody stuck in a profession? Now, most of the people, don't get into it quite as quickly as you did. They're stuck in a profession, they're feeling the longing, they're struggling with their time with their families or whatever else. What do you say to those people?
There's definitely ways to prepare to make the leap to being self-employed over time, so it's not such a hard cutover. There's ways that you can build your reputation, refine your niche, make adjustments to your LinkedIn profile to set yourself up to be perceived as an expert in whatever it is that you do. So, and you can start to gently get the word out that you're looking to make the switch and do it as an independent. So you don't have to make a hard cut. For those people who have not yet made the leap to being self-employed, another tip of practical advice is if you own your own home or condo, whatever, apply for a home equity line of credit while you still have the W-2. Because once you do not have a W-2, getting a HELOC is very, very difficult. Even if you don't use the HELOC, it's there as a safety net. So before you take the leap, qualify for the HELOC and have it there as a safety net in case you need it.
Wonderful advice. Thank you so much. This is so much fun having you here. Once again, anybody looking for connection with Liz Steblay, just go look below wherever you found this, if it's on podcast or YouTube or wherever else. And come on over to YouTube and check out her beautiful smiley face as well.
Oh, thank you.
It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, LeAnn.
And thank you to our audience as well. We appreciate you for joining us on Beyond the Business Plan to unleash your joyful business, at least potential. We'd love to see you make that reality. Remember, entrepreneurship is a voyage you can take with others. So find your tribe for the journey. Keep leading with heart. And we'll see you on the next wave of success. Hey, sales setters, want to navigate your success with ease? Download the Sailing System, your practical guide to charting a course, setting goals, and growing with purpose. Find it now at joyminder.com or check the show notes below for your roadmap to results. Thank you for sailing with us, sales setters. Remember, your journey goes beyond the business plan. So keep charting your own course, leading with heart, and tuning in for more joy and inspiration. Find all the resources and connections in the show notes below, and your support means the world to us. So join our conversation at #JoyMinder or simply share your favorite takeaways in the comments section below. Until next time, set your sails for success.